Hello and welcome back as we have our fifth session on running the race that Paul addresses in 1 Corinthians 9. And today we read from verse 26. Therefore I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. Now just take a moment and imagine yourself that people are lining up for a race. And imagine that the starter fires the gun and off they go. Picture them running with all their might, but in all different directions. Some to the left, some to the right, some circle around, some stand and they just go for a direction. Imagine that. They're all running, but they were all uncertain of their direction. I had many years ago, I wrote, when I was doing my social workers training, I wrote a paper, and I called it, if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. In other words, you will always hit right because there's no direction. You don't know where you're going. But that's no way to really run a race, is it? And it's no way to live for Jesus either. Paul, in contrast, he lived a Christian life carefully and intentionally. He knew where he was going and what it took to get there and what would happen at the end. He did not run with uncertainty or aimlessly, as the Bible says. And there's also this reference to fighting with your fists. There's no shadow boxing going on here before the fight has started, striking just air. He did not beat empty air, Paul. He gave huge blows to real opponents, because they were real opponents that he speaks about. He hit Satan. He hit that what he called the world. And he hit even his own flesh to obtain something better. He knew his opponents. He had knowledge. He understood what the fight was all about. He knew what was going on. He knew his opponents, I said, but he also understood his own character. And he was willing to hit hard at every turn to be able to defeat it all for the sake of Jesus Christ. Not only the enemies outside, but even the enemy within, which we sometimes can feel. Our own character, or our own flaws, our own sin, our own brokenness. And maybe we can say that Paul understood. He had learned. His mind was renewed, and that made the difference. What does it mean to us today? The Apostle Paul says he makes his body his slave. In other words, he lets his mind overrule any natural inclination to being aimlessly, unfocused or uncommitted. He was determined to make most of his life. Now, what are the areas in our lives that are unfocused, uncommitted, or where we let circumstances rule and lead us? Just think of that and pray and ask Jesus to help you.
Thank you for watching this video. Do you want John as a keynote speaker or to facilitate coaching, workshops or seminars for leadership or staff? Connect through our homepage.